Finally, we get a compact impact wrench from FLEX. We actually get two compact impact wrenches from FLEX running on their 24-volt battery platform. We get the FX1413, which is the 3/8 drive compact impact wrench, and the FX1431, which is the 1/2-inch drive compact impact wrench. Now, these are supposed to deliver up to 400 foot-pounds of breakaway torque, and we're actually going to check that and see. Let's get started. These are two brand new impact wrenches coming out for FLEX. We have the FX1413 on the left, which is the 3/8 drive, and the FX1431, which is the 1/2-inch drive. So 1/2-inch handle on the 1431, 3/8 on the 1413. Both of these are considered a compact impact wrench, obviously running on their 24-volt battery platform, and both have brushless motors. Now, these things are basically identical twins other than the anvils. There may be some weight difference in there, but nothing we know of. All the specs pretty much line up, and we'll go over those right now. Now, being a compact impact wrench, and by the way, these have not been released yet, set to be like, I believe, January 1, so New Year's release on these compact impact wrenches. I've got them paired with the 2.5 amp hour stacked lithium batteries, which I think is a perfect fit for these. Being a compact impact wrench, you're really not that concerned about how much power, well, per se, but you're more concerned about compactness, lightness, how light and compact can we get it, and that's why I think it's a perfect fit for that 2.5 amp hour. Let's take a look here, front to back, less than 5 inches, so it looks like 4.88 on the 1/2-inch, and on the 3/8 drive, probably a little less. Yeah, so 4.8 on the 3/8 drive. So less than 5 inches from front to back, or tip to tail, as we like to say. And then height with the battery, right at 9.5 inches. So yeah, right at 9.5 inches tall. Pretty slim on the width profile as well. Looks like on the head anyway, right at 2.5 inches. Yeah, on both of those. So yeah, right at 2.5 inches. Now the battery is probably going to be a little bit more than that. Yeah, on the battery, of course, that's not usually where you're trying to buy some space. But anyway, 3.5 inches on the battery. So the battery's a full inch wider than the head is. So nice and compact unit. Let's take a look at the weight on this. So with the 2.5 amp hour, 3 pounds, 15 ounces. So right at 4 pounds. Without the battery, 2 pounds, 9.5 ounces. For the 1/2-inch drive, and with the 3/8 drive, 3 pounds 14 ounces. So it looks like it may be saving an ounce on the anvil. 2 pounds 9 ounces. 2 pounds 9 ounces. 2 pounds 9.5. So looks like somewhere between 1/2 and 1 ounce weight savings on the 3/8 versus the 1/2-inch. Now, one thing we noticed right away on these is right here on the front on the light, and you see the ring light around the anvil on both of these. So we love that. We love seeing these lights shifted from the base of these impact wrenches up to around the socket or around the fastener. Now, yes, I get it. Once you put a large enough socket on there, it's going to cover that up. But again, on the compact impact wrench, you're probably going to be using somewhere around that 15 millimeter or less. And if you're running a wheel lug socket on there, so 21 millimeter, 22 millimeter, something like that, it may cover it, but typically you're not needing a lot of light when you're doing wheels and tires. Typically you'll have a light, but regardless, we have a ring light around the anvil. Both anvils are friction ring or hog ring style anvils, so we don't have a pin detent. We also don't have a pin and O-ring. So just the friction ring style anvil. So the sockets are going to stay retained on there just naturally without any need for anything else, and you don't have to push any pins when you remove them. Typical slide right here for forward and reverse. And let's take a look at the speeds here. So forward and reverse is going to have the same speeds regardless of which speed or mode that you're in. In speed 1, you're going to get 0 to 1,000 RPM. And then in speed 2, you're going to get 0 to 1,800 RPM. And then in speed 3, up to 2,700 RPM. Now, we obviously have a variable speed trigger because we can go from 0 and make this crawl about as slow as we want to and ramp that up. Depending on how much input we give on the trigger is going to determine how many RPM we get as well as how much power. Now, impacts per minute are going to be 0 to 3,750, so max being 3,750 impacts per minute or IPM, and that's going to be on the same whether it's the 3/8 or the half-inch model. And if you want to break it down per speeds, it's going to be 1,000 in 1, 2,700 in speed 2, and 3,750 in speed 3. Now, in addition to the 3 speed settings, we also have a auto setting as well as a screw driving setting. Not sure why we'd have the screw driving setting on the impact wrench, but I think it carries over from their impact driver. Regardless, it's supposed to help and aid in driving large lag screws into wood. So that's what that screw driving mode is. So basically the M button is the 2 modes between auto and screw driving mode. And then the arrow here is going to just bounce between 1, 2, and 3. So these are basically your speed settings. And when you want the mode settings, you go over here to the M button and select between screw driving mode or auto mode. Now the auto mode is supposed to stop once it snugs the fastener or once it snugs up that bolt or nut. And then in auto, also backing off when it senses that it's loose is supposed to stop as well. So now let's talk about what we're here for, and that is the torque and the power. So supposedly we're supposed to have 300 foot-pounds of forward torque and up to 450 foot-pounds of breakaway torque. So we're going to test that here in just one moment. But before we do, let's talk about 5 LED light settings. So basically you can set the brightness on these. So if you hold the 2 buttons down and then the lights will flash. So hold it down for 2 seconds, they flash. Pull the trigger, go between off, low, mode 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's your brightest there. So you have 5 different light settings and off. So really 6 different light settings. So you can set it to where you want to and then push one of the buttons and that's going to lock that in. So now it's going to stay on for 10 seconds and then every time you pull the trigger it's going to stay in that setting. So very easy to change those modes, but you get 6 different light settings. And people wonder all the time, can you turn this off? Absolutely. But is it really drawing as much power as you think? Probably not. I don't even know that it's worth turning that off. It really, that LED light is not drawing much current at all from this battery. It's not going to affect the power you're getting from the tool. Now let's go use these and see what we think. We're going to do our standard testing for torque, and what we're going to do is take our high torque setter and we're going to set the torque on these fasteners starting at 50 foot-pounds, and then we're going to go to 100, and then we're going to jump in 100 increments. So 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. And if we break those free, then we'll start back over on these larger fasteners and go up from there. Now we're just going to test the 1/2 inch, and then once we get to the max setting, then we'll test the 3/8 too. There's really no sense in testing both of these. It's really a sense of the actual anvil itself, we think. So we'll confirm that when we get to the max setting and see if one can go further than the other. And we're going to run them with these 2.5 amp hour 24 volt batteries, which, by the way, I love the Flex fuel gauge on their batteries. There's no mistaken about it about what the level is on the battery with those 4 bright green LED lights. Anyway, so we've got the 2.5 amp hour batteries. Again, we're talking about compact impact wrenches. So really not looking at throwing huge batteries on here. Maybe we'll throw a 6.0 on here once we get to the final and see if we can get any more oomph out of it. But first, let's test the auto mode. I'll go ahead and torque these 4 to 100 foot-pounds, and then we'll use the auto mode to do a few things. Okay, so actually I just torqued these to 50 foot-pounds, and let's go ahead and put this in the auto mode setting. And we know we have a full battery, and let's make sure we're in reverse, and we're going to see what happens in the auto mode, and we're just going to hold the trigger. Okay, so trigger is still held. Let's do another one. Okay, so as soon as it senses that it's broken free that fastener, it stops the tool. Again, finger is still on the trigger here. There we have it. So in the auto mode, when you're backing off and you hold that trigger, once it senses that it's broken free, it's going to stop the tool. So no lug nuts flying across the shop, basically. So we're going to go to tighten, and let's see what happens in the same auto mode. Okay, same thing. So once it senses that it's tight and nice and snug, it's going to stop the tool. So finger is still on the trigger. So I do like that mode. If you want to stay safe when you're running on lug nuts, you can throw it in that mode and then come back with your torque wrench and cinch it up where they need to be. Now let's get started on the testing. Okay, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. What we did was 50 foot-pounds, 100, 150, and 200. After this round, I'm sure we'll break those free. We'll start back over here at 250, 300, 350, and 400. Here we go. 50 foot-pounds. By the way, I just realized I'm still in the auto mode. So let's leave it there, see how high we can go with it. So starting back over at 250 foot-pounds. And by the way, I'm still in that auto mode, and I really didn't explain how we're going to do the testing. We're going to let the flex impact wrench try to loosen the fastener for up to 10 seconds. If it's moving that fastener within 10 seconds, we'll let it go ahead and finish. If it's not moving, we'll shut it down after 10 seconds. That's why we have these indexing marks around this socket, so you can easily see whether or not that socket is actually moving within that 10-second window. So now we've gone all the way up to 400 foot-pounds. Let's roll on to these larger fasteners and see how we do. Okay, now let's get out of the auto mode just to make sure that we're getting full power. So in mode 3, and let's make sure that we have a full battery. Yes, we still have a full battery. We're in reverse. So here we go at 450 foot-pounds. Okay, looks like on that larger fastener, we're not quite breaking free 450 foot-pounds. I thought it budged there for a second, but it really didn't move anymore, if it moved at all. So not breaking free 450, did break free 400. Now here's the thing, let's move back down to the smaller fastener, and we'll try 450 and 500 on these fasteners. We may ruin our fasteners, but we'll see what happens. Before we do that, let's take off the 2.5 amp hour. Let's throw on the 6 amp hour stacked lithium and just see if we can get any more power there. Nope, still couldn't break that free on that larger fastener. Okay, we're back to the smaller fasteners at 450 and 500 foot-pounds. In reverse, full battery, speed 3. So yeah, it did break free the 450 and the 500 foot-pounds on these smaller fasteners. These smaller fasteners probably won't take much more, but I'll go ahead and run these at 550 and 600. They're probably going to gall the threads at the 600 mark, but let's find out. Okay, now we're back to 550 and 600 foot-pounds. Okay, that was after 10 seconds. It may have moved a smidge, but it's just a great point that I think we're right there at that max capacity. We'll let it run a second longer. So yeah, maybe with the 6 amp hour, and let's try that. Okay, 600 foot-pounds with the 6 amp hour stacked lithium battery. So yes, it broke free 600 on the smaller fastener with the 6 amp hour battery. I know if I go to 700 foot-pounds on these, the bolts are not going to take it. And it being a compact impact wrench, I really could care less about pushing any further. But it also shows you that it really matters. The size of the fastener, the pitch of the threads, all of those things matter when you're looking at an impact wrench and the job it needs to do. So even though this could break free 600 foot-pounds, you see that once we jumped up to a larger fastener where it was needing to move more mass, it could not accomplish that. So that's why it's troublesome sometimes when people take impact drivers and say they'll remove lug nuts. Do they per se have the power to do it? Yes, but when it comes to those corroded lug nuts, things like that, that impact driver is really not built for that. And really nor is a compact impact wrench. So can you use a compact impact wrench to break free lug nuts? Yeah, they probably have the power if they've been torqued correctly, if they haven't been through, you know, a winter or two to build up corrosion. But when you get up to these larger fasteners and when you get into corrosion, when you get into different thread pitches, that's where it really matters as to what size the anvil is, what size the counterweight is in there, what size the spring that's actually driving those impacts. All of those things matter when it comes to the different sizes and weights and pitches of fasteners. Now we're going to take the 3/8 with the 6 amp hour, 600 foot-pounds on the smaller fastener. Now obviously we have a welded adapter on there because we don't have a 3/8 drive at 33 millimeter. So no, it doesn't look like we're getting as good of a drive off the 3/8 as we do with the 1/2 inch. Back to the 1/2 inch. Still took a few seconds, but it did it. So we broke free roughly 550, 600 foot-pounds with these compact impact wrenches, and that's really a lot of torque for this size tool. And as I mentioned, the numbers really don't mean everything. So just because these deliver 550, 600 foot-pounds of torque doesn't mean these are going to be your go-to for removing wheels and tires. Yes, will it remove most of the light-duty trucks and regular passenger cars out there if they've been put on properly and if they haven't been through 58 winters. Now, we know the reality is these tire shops like to really put the ugga-duggas to these lug nuts, and a compact impact wrench many times is not going to be the end-all be-all for those type of situations. So just understand what you're needing out of an impact wrench. Now listen, if you're a DIYer or somebody at home and this is your only impact wrench, this will be a great impact wrench. Is it going to remove suspension components and larger fasteners? Probably not. I would look at this for anything, say, 15 millimeter, maybe 17 millimeter size fasteners and smaller. This will be a great tool for that. Anything larger, you need to step up to a mid-torque or high-torque impact wrench. Otherwise, for those lighter duty jobs, this is going to be a great impact wrench. And I love the fact that Flex is finally adding that compact to their lineup of impact wrenches. So now they have a high torque, they have a mid torque, and they have the compact impact wrenches. And we've reviewed all of them. The bad side of this is these aren't due to hit the market for another month or so. So look for these January 1 pricing as of yet. I really don't have a solid on that. I would assume this is going to be in that $179 to $200 range for a bare tool and probably close to the $300 range for a tool and a battery and a charger. So as a kit, I would assume it's going to be in that $300 range. Now, these do carry their standard 5-year warranty, but if you buy them and register the tools, you're going to get the Founder's Warranty, which is a lifetime warranty on the tools and the battery. So we'll have a link in the description. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day. Keep smiling.